Right, dear students, I hope you all are doing well. Let us go ahead in paper 4, Micropaleontology and Oceanography. So we were discussing unit 1 in the previous lecture, and we understood the definition and the scope of the subject. So in today's lecture also we will go into the detail of this part only. Okay. So various references are present here. I've used all this for making this presentation. So we were discussing about how various techniques are used for understanding the ocean. So bathymetry is one of the technique in which using sonar, we will study about this in remote sensing. We measure the time sound waves, okay, which take some time to return to ship, and we graph the ocean bed on the basis of that. So there is a simple formula in which we put some values obtained through it, and then we can find out the how the surface of the ocean looks like, or the sea floor looks like. Okay. And then there are various temperature variations also within the ocean. Now these are said to be due to variation in the amount of the sun radiation, and there are various other factors also. So here in this figure you can easily see that the red color, it is showing increase of the temperature towards the equator, and away from the equator there is decrease of the temperature in the oceans also. Okay. Other than temperature, what we need to understand about is the precipitation and evaporation also. Within the globe, within the earth, there are some regions where more precipitation takes place, and there are some regions where less precipitation takes place. At the equator the precipitation is high, and due to this the salinity of the ocean water is low here. Okay, so as we go away from the equator the salinity increases, and then again it decreases as we go more towards the pole, as it is seen here in this figure. Okay, near the equator the salinity is less, it increases as we go away from the equator, and then again starts decreasing as we go towards the pole, be it the south or the north pole. Okay, all right. And then there are various temperature variations within the water column of the ocean also. This gives a thermocline, that is, temperature drops rapidly with depth. Okay, the deeper waters are usually colder, and the surface water are usually warmer, and they are warmer at some particular latitudes only. So if we see a complete column of water within the abyssal plain, the deep water, the thermocline, pycnocline, in the second unit we will study about thermocline and pycnocline. I am not going into detail because I am just giving an introduction to you. And then the mixed layer of the water is there. So we have a transition zone, the surface mixed zone, the deep zone, and the ocean floor. So this transition zone is very important, okay, in terms of increase of fauna and flora in this ocean region. So what we understand till now is that temperature increases, the density decreases, and salinity increases, the density increases. So the water's density is also a fact which is to be understood. This in turn will help in understanding the conditions favorable or unfavorable for life in the ocean, and also will help us in understanding the paleoclimate or the future climate likewise. Okay, other than this, when we see the surface currents, in some areas the warm water current is present, in some areas cool water current is present, and the cooler water always goes towards the hotter region, and the hotter goes towards the cooler region, and due to this the circulation keeps on happening. Okay, other than this there are Coriolis effect, there are different other factors. We will study about this in detail, but what I am trying to show here is that there are surface currents which occur in various directions, and as you go towards the depth also, the water from the surface is sinks at high latitudes. Okay, it sinks here, that it runs here, and then it again circulates. So what is a point which is to be noted is surface water, it sinks at high latitudes. Okay, because these are comparatively colder than what they are in the equator. So here the water becomes dense. I already told you a little about the temperature, salinity and density relationship. Here water becomes dense and then it circulates, it goes, it sinks in fact. Okay, so let us see this example here. Here is the equator, this is South America, this is South Africa. These are the warm water currents, these are the mixed water currents, and these are cold water currents. Okay, this is the wave pattern which is followed by the water, and you must have seen that in some animations, you must have seen that how some organisms, some ocean animals, they go along with the water flow. When they migrate, they understand the flow of this water, so they don't swim that time, they just go along with the water currents. Okay, so in fact, I don't know if you've seen that movie Finding Nemo. In that you must have seen the turtles and the fishes, they all go in one direction along with the water current here. Okay, so the warm surface water from equatorial regions, it flows into the North Atlantic, then they cool, they become saltier. Once they become more saltier, they become denser, they become colder. Okay, and then they start sinking, and then the cool salty water, it flows along the sea floor towards the equator, and then some deep water flows south where they rise along the Antarctic coast. So this is a basic idea of how it changes. Okay, all right, now there is a zone which is known as photic zone. The photic means related to light, the area or the zone where light may penetrate. Okay, to some extent you will see light. After that, as you go towards the deeper part of the ocean, light does not appears here. It cannot penetrate to a depth much larger than 1000 meters. Okay, till 1000 meters you can see a lot of light, but after this the darkness starts increasing and light doesn't come here. So autotrophic organisms, planktons, what they do is they thrive in this photic zone, the autotrophic ones which need light to produce food, which are the base of the food web. Okay, so this area is known as neritic zone, this is the intertidal zone, and this is the oceanic zone. All right, so this continental shelf area has some part to be neritic zone and the other to be oceanic zone, and this 0 to 1000 meter is the photic zone. Okay, below this is the aphotic zone, and the overall this zone is known as pelagic zone. Right, so benthic zone, pelagic zone, abyssal afterwards, after this, and photic and aphotic zones depending upon the light. Okay, now let us understand what upwelling is. We have this in unit 3, we will study it in detail there. I'm sorry. What happens is the surface water, it moves offshore. Because the nutrient rich water, it comes upwards, it upwells. Here the planktons bloom. So waves and wind, they help each other in this. So cold nutrient rich water is pulled to the surface because the wind driven waves, they move the water away from the shore. Okay, this creates a area where there is lot of nutrient which comes from the deeper earth, a deeper ocean. So from the deeper ocean, nutrient rich material comes here. This nutrient rich material within the photic zone is very useful for the autotrophs to develop, so they thrive here. So here you can see image a remote sensing image in which more concentration of chlorophyll is seen in red color. So these areas from yellow to red, these are rich in autotrophs, organisms which produce food using the technique of photosynthesis. Alright. So due to upwelling, we have various regions within the earth where a lot of organisms, they thrive. As I already told you, wind pulls away the water from the shore. This causes upwelling, nutrient rich water comes here, and along with this phosphorus sediments come with the runoff from the rivers. Alright, phosphorus fertilizers, they may come along with floating aquatic plants. Sunlight is there, light penetrates, and this causes plants also die sometimes, and this also creates an area where reducing conditions are developed. Within these reducing conditions, many a time anoxic bacteria they develop, and these anoxic bacteria, they help in various reducing conditions and producing some algae which are sulfur eating algae. Okay, so here you can see the highest concentrations of organisms due to upwelling of the current. So what we can say in a gist: nutrients are produced by bacterial decay of material. Phosphates, nitrates, carbonates, they provide nutrients for planktons and other microorganisms which are the base of the food chain. Okay, now let us understand what pelagic sediments are. We saw that where the pelagic zone is present. So pelagic sediments, they include abyssal clay, calcareous ooze, and the siliceous ooze. Siliceous ooze may contain diatoms or radiolarians. So these are various organisms which are present in the regions which are shown here. In the green region you may find radiolarians. In this region you may find diatoms. In this region you may find calcareous oozes. Okay, and the abyssal clay. So these blue, green, and the light green part, they have various microorganisms which can be searched to understand the paleoclimate on one hand, and once they get buried, they slowly result into the formation of hydrocarbons. Okay, there are gas hydrates also present. We will understand about it afterward, but these are useful for hydrocarbons also, and they are useful in formation of limestones also. So they are the sediment, the pelagic sediments are rich in microfossils. Okay, so radiolarians, coccolithophores, foraminiferas along with diatoms are also present. So here in this example you can see this is showing the depth from the surface of the ocean water. There is a zone which is known as CCD, carbonate compensation depth. Okay, below this carbonate dissolves, and here we find silica deposited. So those organisms which have siliceous shells like foraminifera or radiolarians, we get them here. Okay, and in the abyssal clay also these CaCO3 ooze, or below SiO2 ooze we get CaCO3 ooze. This is all because of the presence of nutrients which come from here. Okay, and due to the upwelling, as we already discussed. Okay. We can also understand one more thing. You have you know about chert, right? Various chert deposits are found in the ocean. So it is said that the silica secreting organisms which live in the sunlit surface waters, when they die, they sink, the silica dissolves and it gets deposited. Okay, so we can understand how chert is formed due to various pressure temperature conditions, and also due to the presence of biogenic silica. The silica may be detrital in nature when it comes into the ocean, or it may be biogenic. There are various factors which control its formation. We have studied this in sedimentology, if you remember. So what I'm trying to say here is that there are various regions where silica may be present or where calcium may be present, and these are all due to the presence of biogenic sediments. Biogenic sediments means the organisms, they die, and their then the tests or their skeleton, which is made up of calcium or silica, it gets deposited, and it forms finally the rock composed of that particular mineral. So here comes the interaction of micropaleontology, right? So these are all microbes. Once they become fossils, they are studied under micropaleontology. So foraminifera are organisms which are found present also, and which were found in earlier ages also. Same is for coccolithophores and radiolarians. Okay, I wanted to discuss the Science of Oceanography paper. This is a paper which was published in Nature. It is by Henry Bigelow. So in 1932 they discussed oceanography, and according to him, I will attach this paper and you can see the complete paper also. What they said is the geologist must look to the nature of the ocean bed by the help in the solution of some of the most pressing questions in the study of the Earth's crust. This involves the knowledge of the sediments now being deposited on the seafloor, of the rate of their deposition, and the question of the subsequent solution, which we discussed just before this slide. So these phenomena are so intimately bounded up with physics, chemistry, and biology that biology of the sea, that they emphasize at once the unity of oceanographical sciences. That means you need to understand physics, chemistry, biology, and geology in overall when you are studying oceanography. Okay, so in order to present the whole study, you should know sedimentology also, you should know paleontology also, you should know physics also, chemistry also, and then you should even know geodynamics to understand it. Okay, I'll give this paper, I'll attach this paper so you can study from there. So coming to the application and scope of oceanography. So we have understood till now that oceanography is a multidiscipline science which helps in studying the world oceans, and it includes physical oceanography, marine geology, marine chemistry, biology, technology, and whatever name you may give. So understanding of ocean systems from various aspects helps us to understand paleo-environmental condition. It is helpful in understanding the economic minerals present in the ocean. Okay, and there are various gas hydrates present in the ocean. The mid-oceanic ridges, the material coming from mid-oceanic ridges is very rich in minerals. So understanding oceans is useful in that term also. So it helps in economically, it helps understanding the environment also, it helps in understanding the evolution of life also. Okay, then coming to the scope of micropaleontology. In fact, if I talk about oceanography, then as of now various minerals have been explored from the surface of the earth, right? And now people are trying to explore the ocean beds. In fact, the economic zones have been defined to understand the wealth within the ocean, the economic wealth within the ocean. We get manganese nodules there within the seafloor of the Indian Ocean also, right? There are various nodules rich in manganese, and near the mid-oceanic ridges you may find chromium, you may find uranium, and these ophiolites, when due to orogeny they abduct, then we are finding them here in the Ladakh region, in the north western region of the Himalayas, and in the northeastern region of the Himalayas also. So within the ophiolites you get foraminiferas, the oozes, and they are well connected with the ophiolites. Ophiolites are very rich in economic minerals. So the study of oceanography, what will it tell? It will tell us about presently where the economic minerals are present, and on the basis of that, because the present is a key to the past, we can study the other ancient mineral rocks, or the Precambrian, or say Phanerozoic rocks, and then we can find out the places where ophiolites may be present, or the areas where manganese nodules may be present. So they are very useful in economic benefit. Okay, and other than that, see, I'm not written it here, but because I'm speaking it out, you can note them, these points. Okay, and other than this, we can understand the paleo environment. As of now, we know where the neritic zone are, where the photic zones are, where microorganisms may be present. So similarly, if we want to find microfossils in the ancient rocks, we will go to a similar condition where they may be deposited, right? So these are useful in understanding paleo environment. These are useful in understanding prospecting and exploring economic minerals, and they are also useful in understanding paleo evolution, means the evolution of life. They are useful in understanding evolution of life. So there are three major applications. Okay, and if we simultaneously, if we see for micropaleontology, it is useful for hydrocarbon exploration, useful for microzonation, right, lithostratigraphic characterization, paleo-environmental interpretation, because micropaleontology and oceanography are interconnected. It's not that it's just it's whole a different subject, or it is a different subject. It's not like that. In fact, every branch of geology has to be known to understand the complete subject. Like, you need to know the tail, the leg, the eye, and the complete body of an elephant to interpret it to be an elephant. Otherwise you will interpret it to be something else. People who just study the legs of a elephant, they may call it to be a pillar, right? Likewise, you have to know every aspect of geology while you are studying oceanography, right? So these both are interconnected. So in a gist, what we understand is that micropaleontology and oceanography are useful in economic values, right? They are useful in correlation. They are useful in paleo-environmental interpretation, okay, and mainly exploration of hydrocarbons and evolution of life. Okay, thank you for your attention, and please feel free to ask questions.